In this video, I'm going to build and install some beam skins in the cabin basement. The wood that will be used is balsam fir. It grew in abundance at the cabin property until the spruce budworm moved in. Now our forest looks drastically different. Luckily, we were able to harvest some wood before this event. The columns were relatively easy to produce, so I'm going to focus on the beam skins. I had planned enough wood for the project, but then we modified it to cover one more span in the wood room. I had to join two boards end to end to make this work. Floating tenons kept alignment and made it easy to glue up. The joinery I'm using on the edges is called a miter lock. When done correctly, it makes a strong, self-aligning joint. It makes the seam between two faces invisible. In woodworking, something called a spring joint has been used for a long time. It's a way to make a long edge glue up achievable with fewer clamps. Using that same principle, I'm making 24-inch long spring cauls. The cauls have a very gradual concave curve. What this allows is a single clamp to pull it tight in the center, providing even pressure along the entire 24-inch length. Because I will be reusing these, I added some banding tape, which will release cleanly from the glue. The glue I'm using is Gorilla Glue. It is a polyurethane-based glue. It foams up, and it also sands very cleanly without clogging sandpaper. To increase the efficiency and decrease the time of the glue up, I added these tabs to the cauls. They swivel out and allow one person to set up a caul, quickly clamp it, and move on to the next. The completed columns and beams were sanded, and a satin polyurethane was applied. Using cutoffs from the shop and some drywall screws, I secured them to the trailer deck and drove 55 miles to the cabin. At the cabin, they were unscrewed, brushed off, and brought into the cabin basement. Not down the stairs, however, they would not fit. Instead, we went in through the wood chute. The skins were last handled in November. It is now March. I arrived in the evening before the weekend and made good time. It was also lovely to see the sun. Most days are overcast from the months November through February, and it isn't until March that the skies start to clear. Installation took almost 16 hours and required a lot of on-the-fly problem solving and a second set of hands. Thankfully, Dad was up and there wasn't much to do outside. I hate this tool, but it is such a problem solver. First, I'm going to score, basically sever the fibers, and this is entirely overkill. The wall was framed up without regard to any future modifications. Had foresight been used, I would not have wrecked a dozen blades on the 3 to 4 dozen brad nails that my cut line crossed. Luckily, after trimming the paneling, I did not need to reframe this part of the wall. There was still enough overlap between the paneling and the existing stud. I don't want to pull the baseboard off the wall and re-nail it, so I've clamped a paring block where I need, and I have a sharp chisel, and I'm just going to, very satisfyingly, shave this to be exactly what I need. Oh, are you up or no?
No, I'm not.
I'm too far. There.
No, I am.
Okay. I have it supported.
It is?
Yep,
Okay.
it's fully supported.
Clunk.
This is an offset domino with the notch and the shim. So it slides in, and then the shim will lock it in place. There we go. And it is offset slightly inward. All right. The face of this skin is kept in alignment with dominoes. One skin has 6 domino slots and the other has a groove. The groove allows for a fitted skin to slide into place. Otherwise, with just the domino slots, there would not be enough room to insert the dominoes and install the beam. The reason I trimmed and shimmed the dominoes to offset them is from an error that occurred earlier. The fence position changed between cutting the slots on the first beam and the groove on the second. This little trick proved a real time saver, because the alternative was to sand flush and refinish that portion of both beams. The top is perfect. It's cool walking down and seeing a beam now instead of a, structural member.
You know, it even lightens up this area. No, it's pretty. It's nice having it cut off the land. I really like the corners. You can't see it. It looks like a beam, a solid beam. Yeah, it's like I told your mother last night. I said it was really nice when I cut that tree down, cut 12-foot long pieces, and gave you the wood to make a beam. I really expected something that was going to just be I told her a rough cut beam, that would be nice, but you made a piece of furniture. Was it spruce or balsam? I'm trying to think. Spruce, I think.
They came off this property. I thought the spruce bug borer is or beetle or whatever, that's what killed everything, but I thought this was balsam fir.
I think it might be balsam because it was pretty light. No, it's one of the few big trees we have left.
Well,
that didn't get blown down or eaten. It's amazing how when there was one dark beam through here, how now you put something up there that's white, lightens up the whole room. I can't wait now to get something in here we can figure it out for a ceiling.
Yeah, I think that'll really, really dress it up.
Well, I figured out too, when you're talking measurements, I figured about 400 square feet. I would like to find some of those old panels and put them up separately.
I'm just so glad it's in here.
And it only took 8 hours to put up.
Yeah, right.
I think going with as long as lumber as you can, materials, when you're putting in a beam. Because look at how this one flows here, though. You're looking at almost 2 pieces all the way through.
Yeah.
Rather than all of a sudden seeing a little line here and a little line here, because you're not going to put a 2-board seam there.
Yeah.
So having the 12-foot pieces, so you could go almost like 11, 11, 11. I think it tied together real nice. I'm glad we had the boards that long.
With the beam installed, the next step was to get rest, regroup, and return with supplies needed to make the installation permanent. The paneling was trimmed, removing many of the original brad nails, so I shot new nails, hiding them in the seams. A few needed an additional tap to seat correctly. Construction adhesive offers additional strength to hold the paneling and also secures the column to the wall stud. Because the beam skin sleeves over the LVL, and I do not want to look at the fasteners, the beam is attached from the top. The solid wood floor trusses in the LVL have enough variation that shimming is required. The shims offer the ability to hang the beam perfectly straight and level despite the floor work. It also stiffens up the beam skin significantly because the beam skin can be pulled tight to the joist overhead. I place them about every 2 feet. Occasionally there would be a small gap where a column meets the beam skin. Not a problem. Just add a shim and pull it shut. Trim was pre-finished at home in the wood shop and pre-cut thanks to the column offcuts left over from installation. With trim installed, the threshold was trimmed and reinstalled using permanent double-sided tape. Perhaps a bit overkill, I shot window and door expanding foam in 2-foot intervals along the inside of the skin to offer just a bit more rigidity. It also provides a more solid sound when the beam is tapped with a knuckle. There's a little bit of a seam or a crack right here. I'm going to see if I can improve the look of that. I have Log Builder Tan from Sashco. Sealant made for log structures. This is what is used on the cabin between the D-logs. And I have also used it on the treehouse to seal some air leaks. Part of the trick here is to put down just the right bead. So only a tiny bit needs to be wiped off my finger. So roughly every 2 panels, there's just enough of a booger to clean up. This Log Builders takes about 30 days to fully cure, and it is damn near indestructible when it is cured. It flexes like crazy, it's super durable, and it will not crack. The basement has been done for almost a month, so let's wrap this video up and take one last look. The beam starts in the wood room. We got it trimmed on both sides. Nice tight seam, although that seam kind of stands out a bit more on camera. These are heartwood hard maple, and I really like how they turned out nice and dark. On the posts, I sealed it with log builders. That gets rid of the shadow line that would otherwise give away the interface between that beam, or the post and the paneling. Mom is going to adjust these curtains so they are the appropriate length. A bit more of a reveal or an inset up here than this one, but I don't think it's really that noticeable. I think the trim turned out really nice. I like how there's trim on this side and on that side. I think it adds a nice bit of uniformity. As always, thank you so much for watching and checking out the video. Next up, in a year or two, I would like to work on the ceiling. I got some cool ideas. We'll see which one wins out in the end. But yeah, other than that, thanks a lot. Till next time.